What's going on, everyone? John Brettinger from Techno Buffalo here with the full review for you of the latest flagship from Samsung. This is the Galaxy S6, and in a lot of ways, it is a brand new step forward for the company. But is it worth your smartphone buying buck? Let's go ahead and decide. So before I go into do the full review, let me give a disclaimer as I always do. This device was used for 5.5 days on T-Mobile. It's a T-Mobile branded unit. Most of this review also is going to apply to the Galaxy S6 Edge, and we've got a separate review for that. If you want to check it out, we'll link to it down below. I'm going to end this by giving it a score and a buy, not buy recommendation, plus something we've never done before, lightning round, where we just answered a lot of questions you guys had about the device. It didn't really fit into any sections. So I'm going to hit up the big three about the Galaxy S6 right away: screen, build, and TouchWiz. Then we'll get into the other categories there. This is hands down the best screen I have ever seen on a phone, ever. And I've tested pretty much every phone that's come out over the past 5 years, so I think that's saying a lot. Colors look bright, things look natural, blacks are really black, it's got pretty good outside visibility, it's got good viewing angles. There's been some complaints of overexposure, but that's actually more on TouchWiz's side. I totally get QHD now. I never really did before. I don't know if it's a 2560 by 1440 screen or just whatever wizardry Samsung's packed inside of this thing, but it looks absolutely incredible. I've been really rough on Samsung's build for seemingly as long as I've been reviewing phones. It seemed like they designed one device every few years and then just built different versions of the exact same phone in different sizes. This time around though, they absolutely nailed it. The aluminum edges on the side look and feel great. Obviously there are some glass concerns. It is Gorilla Glass 4 on the front and back, so if you drop it, you could run into some issues. But from the way the phone feels and the way the phone looks, it looks and feels really nice. Not all though is rosy and wonderful. The gigantic Galaxy S6 on the back is just a little bit much. It doesn't have any carrier branding on it though, at least on the T-Mobile variant. Samsung finally has a phone that matches the premium specs that's got on the inside. I think that's saying a lot. Not a big fan of that camera hump on the back. It's really pronounced. I'll talk a little bit more about that in the camera section and in the lightning round. And the bottom of the phone also looks nice, but let's just say looks familiar. So to say I've been hard on TouchWiz throughout the years would be just a gigantic, gross understatement. Admittedly, I'm not the biggest TouchWiz fan. You can dispute the usefulness of TouchWiz. Samsung really, since the Galaxy S3, has taken the software approach to just throw everything at you and hope that you like a few of the tweaks. So you really can't call it a skin anymore. It's almost a straight brand new carrier version of Android. And it's straight TouchWiz through and through. This version tries so hard to break from tradition, but can't quite give up all of its old habits. The annoying bings, bops, and water droplets are pretty much gone, which is really, really welcome here. Obviously, you can disable them in settings, but right out of the bat, it's nice to not have to go through and be like, stop sounding like water's falling on my phone here. Another knock that I had on TouchWiz was there was just a ridiculous amount of Samsung apps. It's now 40% lighter, and you can disable most unwanted apps, which is quite nice. Not delete them, though, as previously has been reported. It still retains some of the cartoonish icons, but Samsung left, again, most of that bloat out. A theming engine is now built right in, which is a nice touch to have. Of note though, the themes still work on third-party launchers, at least partly. You'll see them in notifications pull down and the settings screen. A lot of people had asked about that. So the moral here for TouchWiz, it's finally grown up and doesn't detract from the experience, although it really doesn't add too much either. But that's one of the best things I've been able to say about TouchWiz in years. I will disclaim though that I did run Nova Launcher on here through most of this review. A lot of fuss has been made about Samsung ditching a replaceable battery. If you're the kind of user, and ask yourself this question very seriously, who actually carries a spare battery or two, you're going to be disappointed with battery life. The 2,550 milliamp hour battery is not great, it's not atrocious, but not overly awesome either. In my normal daily usage, I'd ended up around 20% or lower. My usage was relatively light, I think, compared to a lot of power users. But obviously everybody's usage is going to vary, so we did a battery drain test for you. We got about 6.5 hours of screen on time when playing HD video with no volume and brightness set to auto. A few caveats here. It does charge though ridiculously fast. I went from 22% to almost 80% in 40 minutes when it was plugged in. Wireless charging is also built in with pretty much every standard available, which is a nice touch for adding a few percentages when you have a charging pad to put it on. But if you're out and about, out with your friends, and you're not near an outlet or a wireless charger, you're going to need to probably monitor battery life, especially if you're a heavier phone user. All right, let's jump into camera. I know a lot of you use your cameras as your only camera when you're out and about. I know I do. It delivers really good results. Outdoors looked awesome, low noise, excellent exposure, and pretty stellar image quality. Colors were accurate and detail is kept even when zooming in, so yay for 60 megapixels. Results though were a little bit different in low light. They were just okay, kind of warm, but definitely on the better side of what we've tested. The front-facing camera is also pretty solid too. If you want to see galleries or more detail, again, hit the link down below to go to the full written review. Front-facing camera is also nice. It's now super wide, so you can get all your friends in when you want to take that selfie. No selfie stick required, so your dignity can remain intact. I should also mention 4K video capability is built in. A lack of expandable storage is also an issue for some. This one's a bit hard to overlook, at least for me, than removable batteries, since I never carried removable batteries anyway. I know the argument is that it's faster without having to read a card and all that kind of stuff, but Samsung's always been about choice, and that choice is now taken away from you, replaced with a larger out-of-the-box built-in memory of 32, 64, 128 gig variants. Personally, no microSD card doesn't really bother me, but if you're the card swapping type, you need to seriously consider if you can live without that feature. The Galaxy S6 is also the first time we've seen the Exynos in the US, which is essentially two quad-core processors merged together to make a ridiculously fast octa-core processor. And it is ridiculously fast. Let me reiterate this point. There is no lag at all. You've got 8 cores coupled with 3 gigabytes of RAM. Everything is buttery smooth. But don't take my word for it, because I know you folks love benchmarks. Antutu 5.262 got a 67,455, and Quadrant got a 36,886. So pretty good scores there too. We're gonna wrap this review up with a new segment, Random Facts, based on things that you wanted to know that didn't really fit into any category. So I like to think of this as kind of a lightning round. Speaker is way better now that it's not facing on the rear. In-call volume was a little bit lower than kind of would have been used to in the past. Even with the camera hump, it won't wobble on a table when put down flat. This one was a big deal for me. It can charge wirelessly even when powered off. I'm looking at you, Nexus 6. The fingerprint reader to unlock is now way better than previous iterations, and made even more so by an over-the-air update that T-Mobile had. So moral being, it's very usable. I will say it got noticeably warm, especially by the camera when using it, especially when watching videos. The screen also seems to be relatively fingerprint resistant. I didn't get sort of giant, gross fingerprints on it, and on the back as well, but might be because we had the white version here. Kind of an odd thing too about the OS. If you have the fingerprint sensor enabled and it doesn't work for some reason, you want to put in a password, it's not a simple PIN code. You gotta actually do a series of letters and a number in there. Just a little bit annoying, so bear that in mind. Another oddity kept turning on in my pocket. I don't know why I did it, but it did. So what is the verdict here? I evaluate all phones based on if I could use them for 2 years. And I can unequivocally say I could use this, and I would happily use this phone for 2 years. This is a phone that not just Android or Samsung fans are gonna love. It's a device that everyone can love and appreciate. Assuming you don't need a removable battery or SD card. It gets a very solid 9 on the Techno Buffalo scale, and an equally solid buy recommendation. So what do you guys think? You excited about the Galaxy S6? Is it your next phone? You want to wait for the Note 5? I'd love to hear your thoughts on it. Please leave it in the comments right down below. Let me know what you think. Give the video a thumbs up. We always appreciate it. Again, full link down below to check out the written review. And of course, hit the big subscribe button to get the latest Techno Buffalo news and videos as they come to you. See you guys next video.